If we lose forests, we lose the fight against climate change. Forests like these have been taking carbon out of the atmosphere and storing it in their branches and leaves for millions of years. But when those forests are burned, all that carbon that's stored goes up into the atmosphere and speeds global warming. So the smoke that's coming out of forests is equivalent to about 18 to 20% of global carbon emissions. That's more than the entire transport sector and second only to the burning of fossil fuels. But forests do much more than that for us, because in addition to storing carbon, they generate rain, and huge amounts of chemicals are released from their leaves up into the atmosphere and create tiny condensation nuclei, and around these rain droplets form. And across a vast forest like this, like the Amazon, it's in fact acting like a giant utility, producing services that we all use around the world, but we don't pay for. And that's what has to change.
On Monday, September the 10th, 2007, a group from the Global Canopy Programme in Oxford went to Amazonia in Brazil to launch the first stage of their declaration, Forests Now, a call to action to protect tropical forests worldwide.
This declaration calls on governments to put forests much higher up the political agenda. And there's a 6-point plan of action that we have introduced in the declaration, which calls, for example, on governments to get forests into the market. Most forests are excluded from carbon markets. We need to make the rules much more simple and much easier for developing nations to participate.
The GCP-led declaration called Forests Now is a historic event for the conservation of Amazonian forests and for tropical forests and other types of forests throughout the world. The challenge that we have ahead of us is to create an economic incentive to protect the forests. By creating a market value for ecosystem services, we are sure that we can create an additional benefit to conservation of tropical forests and other types of forests throughout the world.
The storage of carbon and the creation of rain, which travels far from the Amazon. All of this, we need to find a new market mechanism to value, because the simple problem is that these forests have no value unless they are cut down. But all those services depend on biodiversity. If you don't have the biodiversity, then you won't have the services. This declaration is a message of hope. It begins its journey here in the canopy of the Amazon, but its voice will be heard right across the world, and we'll be delivering it to the UN Climate Change Conference in Bali in December. There, decisions are going to be made about the future of forests that will last for decades. This declaration will, I hope, change the way they think.